Hello and welcome to the Exposure Therapy Podcast. This is episode 8, and you've got Thom Bradley here with a special guest, Charlotte Beers from Her Exposure magazine. She is the founder and editor, and we're going to be speaking to her about her motivation, the creativity, her curation process, and the inspiration behind the magazine. So let's get into it. Fucking hell. I've already hit record. I'm not even taking any chances. I'm just it's going to be the quickest podcast ever. I was just thinking to myself there, what if like my audio doesn't work this time?
Just not meant to be.
Honestly,
the universe didn't want it.
That couldn't have been better timing. As I was saying, I don't think I've ever experienced any outages. Boom, power goes out in the whole street as well. It was crazy.
Wow. Well, there you go. First time for everything, hey?
Exactly. I believe in karma. I'm not going to jinx myself like that again. That's crazy.
Well, we're here. We're here.
We are here. We're here. It's happening. I appreciate you taking the time to join this podcast from your car, no less, as well. We do the things that we need to do to record these things.
Yeah. It's kind of fitting. No, is it lagging? Or is it all right?
It slightly here and there. I think it'll be all right.
All right. Well, it's kind of fitting because I post a lot of my Her Exposure stories from my car these days, because especially when I'm looking after my son, it's the quietest place I can talk on the camera.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that. I'm not as active with filming myself, but I do feel the pressure of trying to find a quiet spot.
Yeah. Well, I think with her, I wasn't going to show my face a lot, but I figured maybe it's a woman thing, but I think women like to see who's behind like a business. They love the familiarity of it. So every time I talk to the camera, it always opens up conversations with other women, and I think that's been the beauty of Her Exposure, because it's just
I think it's a connection thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely see that, and I definitely see that from your intent behind the actual publication as well.
Yeah, well, that's...
And before we get into that as well, I think it's probably fitting at this point to kind of, for you to share from your side, first of all, who you are as a person, as a creative, and how you came about to actually start Her Exposure. What was the catalyst to you becoming a founder of a publication?
I wish I could give you like a long-winded story about it, but really it was literally like a split-second thought, and I just ran with it. And we were in Japan. I went to Japan with my fiance and our 9-month-old baby, and my partner, he's a film photographer too, and we caught up with quite a few of his friends over there, part of the film photography world, and they were all males, and we went to a few of their exhibitions and there were all males there. And I was like, well, hang on, where I know there's a lot of female photographers out there, but like I've seen them on Instagram. Every time I open my phone, I see a new one pop up, whether it's on my Explore page or someone else is sharing something. And I was kind of like, well, I had a little investigate online to see if there was similar out there, and there is, but it's not as exposed as the male film world or the male photography world. I was literally laying in bed while my son napped, and I was kind of like, fuck it, I'll make this Instagram. And I called it the first thing that I thought, Her Exposure, and I just ran with it. And I've been a part-time shooter myself, film photographer myself. It just gave me a spark to create something like that. And yeah, I guess I just wanted, and the reason also was being a woman photographer myself, and going in and getting my films developed at the film lab, and it's all males that work there. I know how daunting it can be as well to choose a passion that's quite male dominated. So I just wanted to build a community, and a safe community where women can share and comment and find other women on there as well. So that's kind of how it happened, just like a little spark in Japan. And I just ran with it because it felt right. Yeah.
I think that's, and I mean, you started it this year, didn't you? It was
I
in
did. I
March,
started
was
in
it?
March. Yeah.
Okay. And it's grown pretty damn quickly in that time. I've seen the audience that you've accumulated over, over the past few months, and I think that it's a testament to the intent that you've had behind it, because it's been consistent throughout with, the same. It's the namesake, really, her exposure. It's to build that community that you haven't found in other places. And I do, from my own perspective, and I'm not as much of a film photographer, but a photographer in general. It's a very male dominated industry in
Yeah.
general, and I think that you don't, or as a male, I don't really think about it as much, because it's more of a kind of like, it's a passive community that you see, or like, male marketing is passive and female
Yeah.
marketing, it has to be more active. And I think that
Yeah.
there is a lot more of an active kind of camaraderie with the film photography community in general, because of, like you said, there's a lot less accessibility for that. And I think that would you say that the barrier of entry is higher because of that kind of, it's
Definitely.
more exclusivity
Yeah,
in the
definitely.
film
Like
photography?
I was before, or even when I created her exposure page, like I was just looking at some of the other film or photography pages similar to what we do, and a lot of them were lots of men commenting or just sharing men photographs. And I was like, well, hang on, I know there's a lot of good women out there. So I mean, yeah, that's why I just solely just wanted to bring it to life and build something that I know would be a niche to a lot of people, that, and it works. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it resonates with a lot of people as well, and it definitely shows. So the first issue that you put out of the magazine was only a matter of what, a month, 2 months after you started the
I think it was
Instagram account.
2 months. Yeah, so it was pretty
Yeah,
quick. Well, I mean, it grew. I think I got 1,000 followers in that first 6 weeks.
that's crazy. That's
Yeah,
really, yeah, that's really,
and that's when I was like, all right. And I think I was like pumping it pretty hard because like the excitement, the adrenaline of starting something new, and I had the time. Like I wasn't working. I didn't have a job back then. I was just on maternity leave, so that freed up a lot of my time. But yeah, it grew pretty quickly. That's when I was like, all right. And I didn't have the intent of starting a publication to start with. It was just solely just going to be an Instagram page and
okay.
share other people's work. And but then I think my partner was just like, create a zine, like, or create, and we were both just having a conversation because I said like I want to do something else, and we have always collected photo books. Like we've got a little library at home of photo books. So I think we were just having that conversation, and that's where it happened. And then, yeah, within 8 weeks, I sold the first issue, and I sold out of it pretty quickly, which was epic. And that's when I was like, all right, this is
Yeah.
obviously something that I can get the ball rolling with and keep going, because it's obviously an interest to people.
Yeah, there's something that can be said about going beyond social media and having something tangible, especially with,
Mm.
emerging artists having to being able to be featured in an
Right.
actual physical magazine is
Yeah.
something that's really kind of, it just takes it to the next level. And I think that, it's great to be part of a community on social media, but to actually be able to see your work in print,
Mm.
which is not accessible for a lot of people,
No.
either pricing wise or the experience to
Yeah.
actually like design your own book. So
Yeah.
having publications out there that actually increase that representation and show your work in a magazine
Yeah.
is amazing. But
Well, I've,
I want to go back to the fact that it took you 2 months to do your
mm,
first publication, and this is coming from chronic procrastinator that has been running pastiche for 3 years.
yeah.
And I announced our first publication last October. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of life happened during
Yeah.
that past year. So, like,
Yeah.
shit happens, but like,
Hmm.
it takes me a lot to get going with certain things. And I honestly wish that I had the drive and the confidence that I've seen that you have to
Mm.
just get shit
Get it
done and
done.
just like make it
Yeah.
happen. Your How does this differ from your past, like, kind of creative or work experience? Like, were you a designer before this? Like, because you
No.
you used
So
InDesign, right, to do this?
yes, I did, and still a rookie. I think I watched a YouTube tutorial. I sat down, and it was like an hour and 45-minute YouTube tutorial, and I just watched the whole thing, and now I'm a master at it, basically. Not really. I use the most basic of basic things in InDesign, but no, I don't have any sort of graphic design background or anything like that. I just love working. I just love learning. Sorry, I don't really like working. That's a lie. I love learning new things, and giving myself the task to learn InDesign was pretty exciting for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just kind of stuck my head into a YouTube video. And these days, like, you can learn anything and everything off YouTube. There is a video for everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I downloaded InDesign, I watched the video, and I kind of just had a little play around with it. And the blessing of her exposure publications is I like to focus solely on the photography, like the imagery. I like to keep it a very photo book
Mhm.
layout, focusing on the photography side of it, because that's where my heart's at. So it's not a very difficult layout. It's very just pictures, large pictures on each page, but that's kind of how I wanted to keep it. Obviously, I'm still learning, and coming into issue 3, I'm definitely adding more things, but I do like to keep it very minimalistic and photography based, because yeah, I don't want to overcomplicate things. When you look at my grid, it's just photos, 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 maybe like a little interview or a video of me, but yeah, I just want to highlight the fantastic photography that's out there, because it
Yeah,
needs to
you
be
definitely
highlighted.
yeah, you definitely get the sense of your intent, which is art appreciation, even down
Yeah.
to, your like the photo book reviews that you've done,
Mm.
or kind of, your Q&As. There's a lot of talk about. mm, I think the recent one that I'm not going to lie, I scoured through her exposure and went through all the videos, but like one of the
Go do
recent
your
ones that you did.
research.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because otherwise I'm not doing my job. But I was going through the curation, one of the videos that you did about curation,
Yeah.
and it resonated the fact that you just love looking at people's photography and you just want to see
Yeah.
more of the people's photography, and that's why you developed this platform.
Yeah.
Talk more about your, not now, but when you when you did your first issue, the
Mm.
process, and I can imagine that this was incredibly daunting at the start. So, like, 8 weeks from
Mm.
launching her exposure on Instagram to actually deciding that you're going to be putting out a physical copy, the barrage of artists that join your community and want to be featured and using the
Yeah,
tag, and then you know, culling, because I know from personal experience it's almost a heartbreaking task to
it
say right
is.
no to these. But like,
It is.
what
It
what was
sucks.
your process like? How did you approach on the first issue, and how did it change from how you do it now?
I still keep things pretty similar, but obviously now, I think my first issue, I definitely didn't get as many submissions as I got on this later issue, is issue 3. So that was a lot harder to narrow down. But my first issue, I basically just, it was, I really, I guess I just attracted to what I was posting on my page. I really attracted that style of photography also. So it made it quite easy for me to go ahead with the zine or the magazine, because I wasn't getting the usual like fancy or fluffed up like commercial style photography. I was getting quite real, candid work, because that's what I mostly share on my page. So that
Mm-hmm.
made it that every issue, that is what makes my life quite easier, because I don't have to, I'm very, I love candid work. I love street style photography, and I've based her exposure around street style photography. So that's always made it a lot easier to pick and choose with who I go for each magazine. And yeah, because I set that tone from day dot basically. But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know where my confidence comes from, because I think I just kind of said fuck it. Like I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with what I think I like, and hopefully it resonates with people. I'm gonna interview who I find interesting, and hopefully that resonates with people. And I guess I just have a good eye for it, because it does resonate with people, and I think people really enjoy getting a glimpse into real life and people's real life. Like there's so much of glitz and glam and commercial work on Instagram these days, that if someone can read about someone's life, or if someone can see candid photography of different cultures doing
Mm-hmm.
different things, people will be drawn to that. And yeah, I guess I've always had that in my head, um, that that's the tone of her exposure. So I'm just going to keep running with it. And it just, yeah, it just makes my life a bit easier, because that's, I just say, just keep doing what sparks something in your mind, Charlotte, and
Mm-hmm.
people will enjoy it. And I guess it's working out, because yeah, I'm on to issue 3 now. So
Yeah, you've kind of carved a bit of a unique position for yourself in the
mm,
fact that you kind of just started with a path and just kept with it, whereas
yeah,
everyone knows on, like, you know, kind of being creative on the internet, you can't be creative without being on the internet these days. But
yeah,
the
yeah,
internet is a creativity killer.
it
And
is
I know this
definitely.
full well, from my own personal work to commercial work to even doing pastiche, that
Mhm.
I, in the past, had been afraid to make mistakes or been afraid to kind of delve too deep into something that I'm interested in, because
Yeah,
I thought to myself, well, shit, people aren't going to resonate with this. And
yeah,
then they, you know, like, it's
definitely.
going to all be for naught. But
Yeah.
it, in the grander scheme of things, it doesn't matter. And I
Well,
think that
that's
you
what
kind of discovered that early, didn't you?
yeah, I mean, I've been with my personal Instagram, like I've had it for years. I've built it up to what it is now, and I guess I've always had the like, I don't really care what I post because it's my work.
Mm.
And I guess I've brought that mentality to her exposure, which is a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think definitely social media is a creative killer. There's definitely times where I am like, oh, I don't know if people like this photo that I'm reposting, but then I'm kind of like, well, I like it. So, and then people do. And it's the same with my personal brand, my personal Instagram. I'm like, oh, is this too blah, blah, blah. But then I'm like, well, hang on, I like it. So I'm going to post it. And I guess that mentality has really helped me with her exposure to from the creation of it to the creation of the magazines itself to the whole journey. I've been blessed with my mentality with the whole thing because it's really helped me just kind of go fuck it, like I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, what I was saying was like I also think like the next like someone else can start it tomorrow and or someone else can do the same thing tomorrow, which they can. So it's like, well, why
Mm-hmm.
don't you do it? If someone else can do it, well, then why don't you do it 10 times better?
Yeah.
If that makes
Would you
sense.
say that you have a mentality of documenting over creating?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I've always enjoyed documenting
Mm-hmm.
more. Probably probably documenting over creating. That's a tough one because I'm naturally quite a creative person. So, yeah, it's probably 50-50.
It's yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
I see documentation as a definitely a creative skill as well, but the
Hmm.
creativity comes in noticing the moments rather than kind of composing them,
Yes.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that especially because you, like you said, you like to share a lot of candid
Hmm.
moments on her exposure. You shoot a lot of, day to day family life, that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
very creatively. But it's the moments that you notice that others may not because they're
Yeah.
busy. And this is also talking from my own experience in the past. I've been busy looking for moments that I can, turn into a composition. So
Of
a lot of other
perfection.
ones have completely passed me by.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that
Definitely.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I think
that's a
that that
great
might
point.
be a way
And
of putting it.
yeah, when you put it like that, definitely. I've always loved the reality of things.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since, like, I look back at my old little digital cameras that I'd carry around when I was like 10, 11, 12, and I'd just have like random pictures of the street or of, I don't know, I'd walk into a coffee shop and take a photo of people in the coffee shop. Like, nothing great, but I think I've always just had it in me to just, I guess, document real life. And yeah, I guess it's coming out now, 10 years later, in her exposure. And seeing it from all over the world, that's the beauty of Instagram, I guess. I can connect everyone via an app of what people are seeing in their candid life captured on film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's kind of how I'm doing it, you know?
Yeah, I was. So one of the questions that I had initially planned on asking you, I think, is irrelevant at this point, especially seeing how you kind of conducted her exposure. But I was going to ask you how you think running this magazine has changed your approach to photography. But and you can, correct me if I'm
Mm.
entirely wrong here, but personally, I don't think that it has.
Hmm.
I think that your approach to photography has molded the way that you've developed your magazine. Do you think that your approach to photography has evolved in any way in your appreciation for, others' work, or do you
I
think
think
that it has changed at all?
I don't think so. I've always
Yeah.
appreciated other people's work, whether it be people online that I would see or people in real life that I met through Kaylin, or if I saw someone on the street shooting, I'd be like, what are they doing? Like, what are they taking photos of? So I think that my appreciation for other people's work has never changed, and I think her exposure has just highlighted that for me more. Definitely, I guess in the way it's changed, it's probably made me myself a better photographer because I'm seeing all these beautiful, magnificent shots, and it gives me ideas. It sparks ideas in my mind of what I can take. So I look at things differently now. And it's good that that's happening to me because that's what I wanted. I wanted to inspire other people through what I share and yeah, her exposure. So I guess what I'm trying to do for other people is happening to me, which is, I guess, really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it hasn't changed my thought of photography. If it's just made it so that much better. Like it's exciting. It's so exciting now that I have this my own little publication in the film photography world. Just hearing stories, like I probably get like one message a week from a woman from anywhere around the world being like, oh, I met up with so and so the other day through you. And that's just like the most epic feeling to have
Yeah.
now.
Be a
Yeah.
facilitator in something like
Yeah.
that is, I'm
Yeah.
sure,
Sorry, I
really,
probably didn't
yeah.
answer your question. I just completely changed
No,
it
no,
to
no,
that.
no, no.
That's just what that reminded me of. I think, yeah, my appreciation for the film photography world has just like gone tenfold because now
Yeah.
I'm facilitating these relationships with people just through my Instagram account.
Hmm.
And that feels like so epic because that's the sole reason why I started Her Exposure was for women to feel comfortable and safe and proud of their work. And yeah.
That's amazing. And I love the fact that you're getting these interactions with people to kind
Mm,
of, see that you're actually making an impact.
yeah.
Has there been any pivotal instances since you've been doing this magazine that have resonated with you, like any particular artists that you featured that have really had an impact on, your journey to building this magazine? Not to single anyone out over anyone else, but
No, it's honestly a collective. Like
yeah.
every single girl or guy that follows my page is just like a nice little warm hug because I'm like, you resonate with this account, which is
Hmm.
epic, and you love my curation of imagery. You love the idea behind this because in my bio it says through the eyes of women on film. So obviously that resonates with them. So it's just a collective. I mean, it's the yeah, it's the collective of the community, and yeah, there's not a single. I mean, all the conversations I have, all the women that take time to message me and or tag me in a photo. That's just yeah, it's such a nice feeling, and every single one just contributes to the encouragement to just keep it going. So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
it's just the collective of everyone has
Yeah.
definitely had a really good impact on Her Exposure.
Yeah.
And I
Fantastic.
think
Yeah, definitely. And
just
they're all collectively contributing to the same goal as well, I suppose,
100%.
aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just so great. Like the Her Exposure hashtag, every day I probably get like 10 or so tags. And it's just such a nice feeling that people are using that and people are finding other people through that tag.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice. And just seeing like hashtag Her Exposure in someone's massive tag list, I'm like, yes, you go,
That's like
girl.
yeah, I was going to say it's a small, it's kind of like just a little validation, isn't it? You're like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing something great here. Yeah.
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 I'm
No, I
like, yeah,
feel
I
that
will
for
share
sure.
your work.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. Speaking of contributors, you're still doing this all by yourself, right?
Yes, I
You're
am.
single-handedly leveraging
Single-handedly.
these people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always been like a pretty lone wolf, I guess.
Okay.
Like I've always loved working on my own. I work better on my own. Obviously, if her exposure gets big one day, then I'd love to like create a team. But I guess it goes back to my mentality of like, if I think it looks cool or if I like that design like
Yeah.
that, then I'm going to do that. So it's quite daunting for me to think someone else is going to contribute. But I guess like that's the beauty of having something like this and growing your business, because you'll have different people's contribution and different people's mindset, I guess, and that's
Yeah.
what builds a platform
I think when
better.
it's Yeah, I think when it's particularly personal as well, kind of giving up part of the control to someone else
It's
is a
quite
difficult
daunting.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that kind of, feeling of like, have I just fucked up here when I brought more people on
Mm.
and kind of thought like, is this gonna bite me in the ass? Are we gonna get some really problematic things going up on Instagram? But thankfully that wasn't the case, and
Yeah. I
I've been
never
very
think it would
lucky.
be a bad idea, because more minds just creates a better
Well,
thing, I
yeah,
guess.
it definitely does, and I'm of the mindset that I am only one perspective, and I like to, I can't single handedly, represent all of the artists and all of the
Hmm.
cultures that I may want to, and there may be things that I just plain don't think about, which
Yeah.
is better to have more minds in there as well. But yeah, one of my good friends, Eric, was the first person to join our team,
Hmm.
and he elevated it so much. But it was part of the thing for me was I always so I'm a digital shooter first.
Yeah.
I have shot very little film photography,
Hmm.
and I always felt like an imposter in my own home, so to speak, because the majority of the people that were
Hmm.
following Pastiche were all like film photographers, and I was like
Yeah.
posting these things. And I was kind of like quietly delving into the background as I was kind of like just like quietly hitting posts along these
Yeah.
like weekly features and then running away from it because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I felt a little bit more validated when Eric joined and then Hannah joined. Yeah, I think we're up to 5 now, but
Amazing.
I understand the feeling of like, do I want to give that up? But
Yeah.
now
Well,
I'm
it's
just like,
also,
yeah, because I don't know how to do this shit. Like
yeah. And there
InDesign.
is that level of like stripping free of your ego too,
Yeah,
and just letting down your walls and being like, and like you said, like, I can't do that. So maybe you're better at that.
yeah.
But I mean, I've had her exposure for what, under a year. So who
Hmm.
knows what the next year could uphold for her. Yeah, the possibilities are endless. And
Hmm.
the one thing I would love to have someone do for me is to pack my orders. I just cannot do it. Like that's what takes me a long time. I love creating, I love curating, but packing orders, I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
that's no fun. That's you need to grow and get a distributor, and then they can do all of
Yes.
that shit for you.
Yeah. But no, I mean, her exposure's got to grow first. Like I'm not up to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm drowning in. Like I've kept it pretty simple. I mean, I've only just started the website
Hmm.
journey, and that's been a journey. So yeah, I mean, she's still small enough for me to just be like, oh, I can do this. I can do
Yeah,
this. But who knows? Who knows what could happen in the next year? But it's exciting, and I'd definitely be open, say yes to any opportunity, and just, yeah,
yeah. I
get her
think
going.
I think um I think the path that you and I were on at the beginning of our journeys kind of is vastly different in that, because
Hmm.
I've seen from, you know, the very beginning of when you started her exposure that you had a clear intent with like what you wanted to do with it,
Yeah.
and you kind of like charged ahead with that and somehow mastered InDesign.
Oh, I'm still like, I've still just got one template saved, so I don't have to.
That's it. That's all you need.
Yeah. And
That's
I just
it.
have that on my home screen, and every issue, I just go to that.
Yeah.
And then the beauty of Mixem, I know you guys went through Mixem, is
Hmm.
you send it off, and then they tell you what to change and what
And
kind of,
yeah, their service
and they're
is
awesome.
superb.
So
Yeah, their service is
they've been
superb.
a
But that's
massive
the thing
help.
though. But you did it on your own.
Yeah.
And I think that when I first started, I was floundering a little bit because I you went you kind of jumped into it from a positive outlook. And I think that I
Yeah.
went into it from a very cynical outlook because I was just
Yeah.
like, man, fuck Instagram. I'm going to start an Instagram account. I was supposed to start I wanted to start the magazine to take people away from Instagram, which is such a kind of like in negative, cynical perspective to have. And then I
Yeah.
took 2 years just thinking like, what the fuck I'm doing here. And it honestly, the only time I have felt deeply fulfilled in what I've been doing with it is in the past year,
Hmm.
since Eric and Hannah joined, like with the social media and the curation and the community side of things, and since doing this podcast and actually really kind of pushing forward with the community
Yeah.
side of things and engaging. And
Yeah.
I think that you kind of did that, hitting the ground running. You were like,
Yeah.
community first. I want to build a community. I want to elevate these women. I want to get these artists in front of
Well,
more
I
people
think,
and share. And
yeah, I think
that's
it's only natural for women to want to be part of a community. I think
mhm,
dating back to the Stone Age, like it was always women like staying, like, huddling and being around each other, and that's just what we're naturally drawn to do. And yeah, I think that's probably the main difference between us. Like I was like women empowerment, let's empower each other.
yeah.
Whereas like men can be quite like, we like, I can do this, let's just, I don't know. But I think that that's just what my
I
mindset,
understand what you mean though, because
you
that
know.
was me.
I don't want to,
Like, I can
I don't want
fucking
to
do
like
this.
offend anyone. I don't want to make any assumptions here. But if you kind of understand like the difference between just our biology,
Mm,
and that's obviously, I guess, why her exposure has taken off, because yeah, I've built
yeah.
that community, and that's what we're drawn to. We're drawn to uplifting each other and empowering, and
And there's
that's why
zero
girl power
ego
is a thing.
involved in it. I think that
Yeah.
that's what it is. And like you're
Yeah.
right though. Like I freely admit I had a real issue with kind of putting my ego first in situations like, you know, kind of creative situations. If something flopped, I'd be like, well, who's to blame for this? Like
Yeah.
what's the problem here? And it was because I had no clear intent, because,
Yeah.
you know, ego drove my creativity,
Yeah.
and then I got pissed off when shit didn't work. But since kind of taking that element out of it, and I think that it's all thanks to the creative community that was built through these publications like ours, and like-minded, you know, people that build these communities, has kind of helped me see that like that doesn't really matter if you're not happy with
Yeah.
what you're doing. If you're not just doing it because you love doing it,
Yeah.
then it's going to fail.
Yeah.
And I think that that was the really the turning point for me. So I want to ask you then, as you've been saying, the that you just started your website journey.
Oh goodness.
We've already had conversations about
We
this.
have. You've been fantastic. You have been
Thank you.
great.
It's I'm honestly an e-commerce nerd, so it's I'm pretty sure I speak e-commerce more fluently than English at this point. So yeah, it's really not an issue. But what would you say has been kind of like a big challenge that I don't want to say that you've kind of avoided, but that you've been a bit apprehensive to kind of tackle? Some like it, in the whole kind of the world of publishing and stuff like that. Like, what's really kind of been a challenge for you in this whole journey?
The first thing that comes to my well, definitely first thing that comes to my head when you ask that is like, what next?
Yeah.
And that's all, like, especially the last 6 months, I've kind of been like, all right, I've got my publication, I'm on to issue 3. Like, what next? Like, where can I elevate this more?
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know if that's like, I guess it's a good thing because it's keeping the ball rolling, and it's getting me open new doors for the future. And I guess that's why I started this website, because hopefully it can open some more doors for me. But also then I'm like, hang on, just chill, like do what you're doing now, keep the Instagram going, just keep doing your seasonal publications. So yeah, I think it was that, like, all right, what next, what now? And that's when I jumped to being like, all right, we need a website. And that was like, because I don't know anything e-commerce wise, I've got the most simplest Shopify you could ever have. Yeah, that was very daunting, and it still is. I'm like a couple days out of my Squarespace trial ending, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, it's not ready. I don't know what to do.
You can extend those, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can just go to this. So I'm just
See,
gonna,
I didn't even know that.
yeah. I'm just gonna kind of like just derail this a little bit. Like, yeah, you can ask them to extend your trial period.
All right, amazing. But yeah, see, I'm just like, I can do Instagram, I can apparently do InDesign, but when it comes to websites, SEOs, KPI, whatever, I'm like, ugh, I don't know what
Yeah,
that language is, but I know it's good for a business, and I just need to jump over that hurdle and learn it, I
yeah.
guess.
Well, if anything, if this is the thing, right? I can do e-commerce in my sleep, but I opened InDesign once. It's the end of that story.
I was like, yeah, well, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's just two different brains
Yeah,
that are good at different stuff. So yeah, and that's my hurdle as of now. Like, I'd way prefer design another another issue than
yeah.
create the website right now. But
Do you have issue 4 already in mind?
I'm always thinking about different issue themes.
Hmm.
Like, that's another, I love thinking about themes and what would resonate with people. But I'm also like, chill, Charlotte. Let's just get issue 3 out of the way and just let's get her done. But also, what has been challenging as well, I forget, is being a mum trying to do this in my spare time. That has been a massive challenge as well, because
Yeah,
time is limited with the toddler, and
I feel
at the
that.
end of the day I'm exhausted, but then I really want to do this, so I'm up late, and it's just like a vicious cycle. But I love it, and I love what it's doing for other people, so that just gives me the encouragement to keep going.
Yeah, definitely. I'm cognizant of your time here because you need to, speaking of toddler, you need to pick him up at some point, don't
I do pretty shortly, yeah.
you?
But
Yeah. All right. We'll I do have one more question I really wanted to
yeah.
ask because Pastiche's first issue,
Mhm.
thank you for ordering, by the way. I really
Of
appreciate
course.
that. Does not have a theme, mainly because I wanted it to, mainly because I didn't fucking think of it.
Well, to be fair, my first issue didn't have a theme.
Did it not? I seem to
Or
have
did
read
it?
that it had something around human existence.
Yes, no, it did. That's a lie. But I thought of
Come
it
on,
very
Charlotte.
late. I thought of it late. So
Yeah, okay,
I
fair, fair.
got the
I don't, yeah,
submissions,
I don't
and
think
then
you
I
announced it. I think you just kind of curated into the
yes,
theme. Yeah, yeah. All right,
and
okay,
that's
cool.
because I saw the theme of the issue of the photography style that I was getting, and I was like, this is
Gotcha,
human existence.
gotcha.
Um,
They
so
all
yes.
have, yeah, all of your themes though, they have, and it's all come, it's like, it's all just come coming full circle again, it's all around connection,
Mhm.
whether it be family, emotional connection, human connection.
Mhm.
Is there some significance in there for you? Is this kind of harken back to what you were saying about how you like to see other people's art? Um, I kind of feel like there's a conscious effort here to kind of
Yeah,
build that community aspect in a visual manner and encourage connection as opposed
yeah.
to just curate connection.
I think just, and I've said this in another interview, like with the world being so digitalized and everyone
Hmm.
being on social media, and it has such an aspect of loneliness and like being disconnected from the world. And you walk, like it's so very common to see people walking around on their phones, being so disconnected. You walk onto a train or a bus, everyone's on their phone. So there's such a beauty of like having seen photographs of people, like people doing people things.
Hmm.
And it just takes you back to the like core of humanity and what we're here for. We're not here to be on our phones or stuck behind a computer screen or watching TV. Like, I just find there's such beauty in people doing people things.
Yeah.
And I think that's just been the running element of a little bit of her exposure, because I'm drawn to that, and I know other people are too. Like, we watch reality TV for a reason, because people are drawn to what other people are doing.
Yeah. It's the state of curiosity, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about that, and I guess other people are too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think, yeah, there's just such a beauty of capturing people doing people things or being around people.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I still love the magnificent mountain shot or the shot of a sunset, or, but I don't know, I just think people capture people really well too. And yeah, it's interesting. It interests me, and it strips away from us being so digitalized and stuck on our phones.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely there's some honesty behind it as well. And I
Yeah,
think being able to see people shooting people, especially a post that you just put up earlier on today, the mother and daughter post, like that
yeah,
is just completely honest. And you
yeah,
can kind of you can get the emotional connection between
yeah.
those, between the mother and daughter
Just the
just by
rawness.
seeing that
I
image.
love
Exactly,
the
yeah.
rawness of
From
life.
exactly, yeah. And kind of like from birth to the age that that child is there, you can kind of get a sense of that entire journey from one image. And I think,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
you say, people capturing people is the best way to put it, and it's documenting emotional connection. I love that.
yeah,
I think that
yeah,
that's something that I really appreciate, seeing the photographers that you put out and the curation that you do in in the actual in the
yeah.
magazines.
I also think people get, especially with like Instagram being such a highlight reel, I think people get so caught up in trying to perfect like a beautiful, like, I love a beautiful portrait, but there's a lot of that. There's a lot of like perfect portraits or a lot of perfect commercial work
Hmm.
showcasing shoes or a dress or a hat.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that there's perfection in like a mum and a child pointing at a cesarean scar. Like, that is perfect picture of a life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's why I have that running theme of connection in her exposure.
I think that you curate it very well as well. So I'm excited to see, and I'm sure that you've got more similar themes in the bank as well. So I'm excited to see what you've got coming. As you've already said, you've already been thinking far in the future. You're probably like issue 12 in the back of your mind already.
Every day, just a new. My notes is just full. My phone notes.
Honestly, I've got my book here. I've been making notes as we've been talking. I'm gonna wrap it up here because I know that you've got to go and
Yeah,
pick up the little one.
but we made it. I was a bit skeptical with all the issues.
We did make it. I'm
We
very,
made
very
it.
excited. I want to do
Yeah,
another episode though, because I have a lot more that I want to chat with you about. So if you want to do another one, part two, with Eric as well this time, he really wanted to join this one, but he couldn't
that's all
do it.
right.
He was on trick or treating duty this evening, so
Cute. I
I
didn't.
really
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much.
No,
No,
thank
thank
you.
you. That was a good chat.